Presenting, bearing the canopy, and holding time's fickle glass. We will return to the Shakespeare's sonnets, the quarto of 1609. Presenting sonnets 125 and 126. Here is 125. Were it aught to me, I bore the canopy, with my extern the outward honouring, or laid great bases for eternity, which proves more short than waste or ruining. Have I not seen dwellers on form and favour lose all, and more by paying too much rent for compound sweet, foregoing simple favour, pitiful thrivers in their gazing spent? No, let me be obsequious in thy heart, and take thou my oblations, poor but free, which is not mixed with seconds, knows no art, but mutual render only me for thee. Hence, thou suborned informer, a true soul when most impeached stands least in thy control. Sonnet 126. O thou, my lovely boy, who in thy power dost hold time's fickle glass, his sickle hour, who hast by winning grown, and therein show'st thy lover's withering, as thy sweet self grows. If nature, sovereign mistress, our rack, as thou goest onward, still will pluck thee back. She keeps thee to this purpose, that her skill may time disgrace and wretched minute kill. Yet fear her, O thou minion of her pleasure. She may detain, but not still keep her treasure. Her audit, though delayed, answered must be, and her quietus is to render thee. These are companion poems, and must be read in this order. Contrary to what is in this book published in 2020, all the sonnets of Shakespeare, edited by Sir Stanley Wills and the Reverend Dr. Paul Edmondson, they say these sonnets are merely thought experiments and have no biographical content. The poet's words prove them wrong. We start off with a simple digit sum puzzle. We add the digits of these sonnet numbers, and they add to 17. 1 plus 2 plus 5 is 8. 1 plus 2 plus 6 is 9. We add these as numbers. 125 plus 126. And then we subtract the Gematria values of these three letters, the two uppercase V's and the uppercase O. When you do that, you get the digit sum number 197. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 7 is again 17. We add these as numbers again, 125 plus 126. And we subtract the Gematria values for all uppercase letters in this couplet, the only couplet in these two poems. Then we subtract the number of words in this couplet. You get 179, another digit sum number. I believe these empty brackets are a clue to subtract the numbers in the last couplet of Sonnet 125. There is a reason for the 2 lines being empty in Sonnet 126, and we will reveal that later. Now we do some more number puzzles with some Gematria. Gematria sums. These values of the Gematria of the uppercase letters, in the first 2 lines of Sonnet 125 add to 94. And if we subtract the number of words in line 1, which are 6, we get the 3rd digit sum number 98. The number of Roman words in Sonnet 126 is 90. We subtract the number of words in brackets. And subtract the number of italic words. And subtract the number of lines to get 68. (68) equals 17 times 4. 68, furthermore, is a mirror of 98. We just rotate the 6. The poems are clearly connected by the number 17. 2 solutions to the puzzles are multiples of 17. 3 solutions are digit sum numbers, which add to 17. It's another example of tria sunt omnia, in which a repetition of 3 of anything signifies a profound truth is either hidden or being revealed. Now we'll connect the sonnets. The poems are connected by the following. They're connected by time, as shown by these words. We have tria sunt omnia twice. Sonnet 125 has the word eternity. Sonnet 126 has time and times, both abstract concepts. Sonnet 125 has the word seconds, and Sonnet 126 has the word minute and hours. They are the 3 smallest units of time as per Elizabethan and Jacobean mathematics. They are connected by the words sweet, render and rendering, control and power. Property. Rack rents were a type of rent in Elizabethan and Jacobean times, which is why rack in Sonnet 126 can be connected to rent. Rank. Sonnet 125, we have dwellers on form and favor, and 126 mentions a minion of her pleasure. We have the law. Render, suborned, and impeach. In Sonnet 125, are legal terms. Detain, audit, quietus, and again render are terms in 126. Sonnet 125 is about honesty. Through a question, he is telling us he has shown honor externally, which may last forever or be shorter than destruction. That he has seen men fall from power because they had to pay too much rent. Honors, instead of receiving simple favors. There are many wasted gazes. The poem makes a change or volte face. He utilizes the volte for a different purpose. Here is what it means. Charles Tomlinson, in his book The Sonnet, Its Origin, Structure, and Place in Poetry, quite an old book, said, "The Italian sonnet is a poem of regular construction, built up of parts or quatrains, the basi or basis of the structure, and of tercets or volte, turnings of roads to which the basi point. But in this case, the volte no longer relates to the original idea or basi. It addresses a different person. The poet asks someone to take his offering, though he is poor. It is offered without second thought and no artifice. In mutual affection. The poem makes another change or volte face. It tells a lying informer that someone honest, when questioned hardest under oath, is not in his control. Here means to lie under oath. Means the word impeached just below it. When you are impeached to a trial in court, you are bound by oath to tell the truth. Sonnet 126 is a scathing attack on the subject of the last couplet of Sonnet 125. It begins with a line filled with sarcasm, the figure of speech known as antiphrasis. Here I will read that line with the sarcasm. O thou, my lovely boy, who in thy power dost hold time's fickle glass, his sickle hour. The poet derides the man's vanity by saying that he holds time's fickle glass, the glass being the mirror. The man has grown by something waning. At the expense of his friends and lovers, notice that sweet self is another example of antiphrasis. Thy lover is withering as thy sweet self growest. The poet wishes that life, or nature, will pull him back from his increasing status. Poet insinuates that it is his adversary's nature to grow at the expense of others. That's the meaning of she keeps thee to this purpose, that her skill being letting him do what he needs according to his nature. She, of course, is nature. He wants the man to be remembered in disgrace, and his brief rise to infamy be forgotten. That is the meaning of may time disgrace and wretched minute kill. This line refers to nature and the queen's favor, for both are fickle. Eventually the queen, personified as nature, will be answered to by an accounting. That is the meaning of her audit. And her final settlement of the debt, or quietus, owed is to make his adversary as if nothing. That, I believe, is the meaning of the two blank lines. This is hardly a love poem. Given all of the above, it is clear these poems are a single entity. So, who would have borne the canopy over the sovereign? Who saw those who dwelt on form and favor fall from grace? He was always faithful to his sovereign in spite of his relative poverty. He was viciously slandered and libeled by someone who was lower in rank. He was more than capable of seething sarcasm, as shown in many plays, which is why I say Sonnet 126 is meant to be read sarcastically. The poet uses antanaclasis, where the same word has two meanings, compound sweet and thy sweet self. They're obviously not the same. Compound sweet is positive. Thy sweet self is negative. The poet used antanaclasis again in line 12 with render as it relates to the informer. Mutual render means mutually giving, but to render in Sonnet 126 means something entirely different. In order to answer all of this little question about who the poet is, we have to ask, who was the suborned informer? To fully understand the meaning of these poems, we need to know who this man was. In the poet, there was one man who fits this description and the grim punishment left unsaid in Sonnet 126. He was imprisoned for his role in a conspiracy which sought to place Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne in 1581, which is why he says she may detain the man. According to the 1351 Treason Act, the punishment was death, which is why he says wretched minute kill in Sonnet 126. It is the consequence of his actions. During Queen Elizabeth's time, the method of execution was hanging, drawing, and quartering. However, as a peer of the realm, his punishment was to be less severe were he to be convicted of merely high treason. Beheaded, like the real poet's uncle, Lord Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey. Had he been convicted of spiritual treason, being Catholic, he would have been hung, drawn, and quartered, which is why the meaning of the word render in line 12 on Sonnet 126 is to separate a person into pieces. The most recent execution of that type was of Father Alexander Bryant in December 1581, the year of this man's imprisonment, rather. This sonnet more topical than usual. The man was a cousin of the poet, and at one time very close to him, and he was older, which makes this more insulting, as he says, "O thou my lovely boy." Which is why the poet is so bitter. Had this informer returned to the Church of England, he would have been spared death, which is the meaning of line 2 of Sonnet 126, because he holds time's fickle glass, his sickle hour, implying that hour by hour his fate would have been in the hands of somebody else. He would not renounce his faith, which explains why he is in the Queen's power. Execution was always an option for her. That is the meaning of she may detain but not still keep her treasure. Here is the reason why this sonnet would not have been sent to the prisoner or even published during the author's lifetime. The subject of Sonnet 126 libeled and slandered the poet and brought baseless charges against him. The Spanish ambassador Bernardo de Mendoza wrote to King Philip of Spain on December 25, 1581, as translated here, "My Lord Harry Howard has informed and continues to inform me of everything he hears." Since the man who is the subject of Sonnet 126 was an associate of Henry Howard, we can assume that he also informed for the Spanish ambassador. According to this couplet, he wanted people to lie on his behalf, but they would not because it was their duty to tell the truth under oath, which is the meaning of "a true soul, when most impeached, stands least in thy control." After his release from the Tower, he fled to France in 1583, where he may have penned Leicester's Commonwealth, a libel against Robert Dudley, the Queen's favourite at the time. The man whose initials were C.A. was Charles Arundel. Recall that we saw the triascent omnia principle in the sums, the digit sum numbers. Numerical allusions to the real poet's identity. This is evidence that the poet was Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. 125 holds more evidence he wrote these sonnets. Since he was Lord Great Chamberlain, he would have borne the Queen's canopy during state occasions, which is the meaning of "were it aught to me, I bore the canopy," with my extern the outward showing. The man in the ellipse may actually be the poet, since his position, carrying the litter of Queen Elizabeth, is where the Lord Great Chamberlain would be in a grand possession, as in the roll of all estates, related by B.M. Ward in his biography on page 295. On November 24, 1588, the Queen and the entire court went to St. Paul's Cathedral to give thanks for the defeat of the Spanish Armada, which means he would have been carrying the canopy over the Queen. His position at court enabled him to see many fellow aristocrats fall from favor, as he did from time to time. Despite this, he was always loyal to the Queen. Given all of the evidence, it is clear these sonnets must be read in this order, and that they are deeply personal. Contrary to what is in this book published in 2020. The man identified by the number 17, also known as Shakespeare, was Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. Thanks for watching.